All right, perfect. So now officially recording. But
Cool.
all right, welcome you guys. Welcome, Colin and George. I appreciate you guys being here. I know it's been quite the past few weeks. There's a lot of new, I guess, like updates in the nano community, in the nano space, and I can just imagine it's been busy for you guys. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good. Well, thank you for having us. Number one, God, it's been quite the November so far. Nano November, which the community have kind of dubbed this month and all our news. But no, it's been really successful. Really exciting to get so many pieces that we've been working on for so long finally out into the wild. That can be enjoyed by the community at the hub, the new website. It's really kind of a new phase for Nano, a new chapter.
A lot of things have been being worked on, and then they all had to come in like a specific order, and it's just nice to get everything out there and released. It's a big relief.
And we can now move forward to this next stage, which is really putting Nano in the real world. And that is really why we've refreshed the website, to really focus on the potential of Nano in the real world. So, more exciting things to come. And I know that we're going to go through them in this interview a little bit further anyway, so I'll hold them back. But no, it's been a good couple of weeks, and we're really proud of our team, to be honest. They have worked so hard. We're all very relieved that it's been a success.
So you can both say that Nanovember is actually a thing.
I think officially it's a thing. Yeah. So let's hope we can keep it up.
Okay, great. So for anyone that's not familiar, to anyone that's watching this video that's not familiar with Nano, what's something to look out for, and like why would someone outside of the crypto space pay attention to Nano?
So Nano is really it's a new currency that happens to be digital. Just like the cash in your pocket, you can transfer Nano, and 100% of that Nano goes to the recipient. And that's something that is nowhere else in this space, which is so exciting. Nano is currently the world's most efficient currency, with 0.2 on average second global transactions on a feeless network, negligible carbon footprint, and incredibly decentralized.
This I think is what a lot of people were looking for in the cryptocurrency space. They actually wanted a currency that was able to substitute for what we know as the banking industry right now, and really expand it out to people that don't have access to it, and also improve the efficiency of what we have. There's a lot of fees, a lot of hidden red tape everywhere, and cryptocurrency has the opportunity to unravel that, giving access to a lot of people.
Considering, there's 5 billion people in the world that don't have an address and therefore cannot access the banking system that we take for granted in the Western world. And so through just your mobile phone, a smartphone, and access to the internet, you can have your own right over your own money, which we believe should be a standardized human right. And so this is what Nano can provide that right for the first time.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it really kind of the new currency ticker, currency symbol, I guess, like really speaks to what Nano's vision is and the personal ethos behind it. Can you guys talk more about the new symbol?
So
spent a lot of time on it.
It's been 2 years of crazy research. It's rare that you get an opportunity to create such a thing with such longevity in mind. It's also terrifying to put such work in and then release it and just hope that the rest of the space agrees that this is the right move for Nano.
And there's no blueprint to do it.
Exactly. We've only had Bitcoin try to do it before, and they've kind of pulled back from this trying to be a peer-to-peer digital currency for many reasons. And so, this really was a path untrodden, and we're so excited to finally get it out into the world. But the point really is to start changing the understanding and the behavior around how we treat Nano, not just as this online asset, but actually seeing it in price menus, seeing that currency symbol being used and identified for Nano, I think is such an exciting next step. And also, we're preparing for what our goal is for Nano to be a global currency in the real world, And for that, we need to make sure that we have prepared Nano to comply with the regulations and the Wild West that we're currently kind of sitting in. And so we've taken more of the fiat route towards that, as we really hope that Nano will sit aside, fiat currencies and be that choice for people when they need it, really.
I know you like the graphic of the symbol on the window.
I do. I'm slightly obsessed with it.
A real thing.
It's actually my phone background, which
I like the parking meter one. The parking meter one is very like real world, scenario kind of use case there. And
exactly. I think it's
a thing that you.
Yes, I think it's the perfect, also match of ethos. I'm slightly obsessed with electric car charging points and speak about them quite a lot. And obviously with Appia, that really is kind of the direction that we are looking forward to pushing Appia further into, which is into the electric car charging point. Being able to spend your green, sustainable Nano for your green, sustainable car, I think is such an exciting next step. It's something that we're definitely going to be pushing forward in the future. But obviously, our time is all Nano right now, which I know people understand why.
Has that always been in the horizon of Nano's kind of ethos, I guess, like in terms of like future projections and what you guys wanted to do for Nano's future in terms of like, hey, like let's spend our Nano in a coffee shop. I don't know, 1x no at this point, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna pay for parking in Nano. Just scan this little QR code, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sometimes hard to grasp like how big of a reach currency has. It really intersects every single part of your life, down to the smallest details to the biggest decisions you make. It has currency associated with it generally. So the question is how to roll it out, and it's really, really hard to do that type of thing. So it takes a lot of analysis. We work with people that are willing that want to work on it, and something that fits into their business, something that will be sustainable and have a longevity to it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest, I think a really important point to make is the beauty of what Nano is and what it provides is that it speaks to a need and a real world necessity. And it's not just this nice to have. And I think that really is the crux of Nano's longevity and future, is because it really it fixes a real world problem. And it's not just creating a solution to a problem that doesn't exist, which I think 99% of the rest of the space is doing. Obviously, Nano's core goal from inception, Rayblox was to be a peer-to-peer digital currency and was to be the world's most efficient currency. Now, we have done that. It is there currently as we speak. And the next stage now is to secure that position, and then start pushing forward, which we already have started in the adoption kind of side of Nano. And obviously we are very early in just general kind of digital money adoption. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, especially in our space, of what adoption truly means. To us, it is working with companies, making sure that actually, if they have a problem, Nano could be the solution, but we're never going to force it upon anyone. It is really about making sure that Nano has a purpose for these companies, and whether it's saving on costs, on energy, and on time, that is really going to be the crux between whether digital currency is adopted in the Western world exponentially quickly or in the emerging markets. And until Nano or until digital money or cryptocurrency provides, a better way than the incumbent system.
I think we're moving we want to get away from the prototyping system. I think there's a lot of projects out there that are prototyping ideas. They're making new. I think we lost the video.
You're back.
Am I still here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Can you hear us?
Perfect. Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think what we're trying to do is get out of the prototyping phase. I think there's a lot of people in the industry that are making prototypes or like adapting things to new ideas. We really want it to be tied into real world savings
and work.
And work. So that's something that it takes more. It's more detailed look. It's more nuanced. It takes longer to get it in there, but once you have it in there, and once you're saving a business money, it becomes very hard for them to go the other direction. And that's what we focus on.
And a great example is 2Miners. So with 2Miners starting to use Nano payouts, obviously because the gas fees are I know, paying their Ethereum miners was too high, and now using Nano. Now, from that point, it's going to be very hard for them ever to go back because of the beauty of the facets of what Nano brings to cost savings and time savings. And so that really is the crux of what we have created, is something that is quite unbeatable. You can't beat free and you can't beat the fastest. And that really is it. And obviously, when we move forward with our FX project and everything like that, that is really going to be kind of the global domination of kind of the whole, economic market, because you can't beat the fastest and the freest. And that is really what we're working towards, which is so exciting.
For anyone that's not familiar with the FX project, do you mind touching upon that a little bit?
We can't, unfortunately. So what is really exciting is that what we've created will work cohesively with Nano, and it's going to be purely institutional. And that's really kind of all we can say right now. We're targeting the fiat FX market, and what we've created is pretty revolutionary. But I know that the community are now going to go wild and pick this apart, which is fine. But it's going really well. We're really excited to move forward. And
people need to remember that institutions and banks are absolute dinosaurs. It is moving a barge, and no matter how hard you yell at it, it can only turn so fast. So we're moving along.
And we're lucky that we're just incredibly agile. I think it scares some of the partners that we do work with, because obviously in the corporate world, it's incredibly full of red tape, and you have to go up the rungs of ladders and get sign off and explain and blah, blah.
But we're definitely not stopping in the meantime.
Exactly.
So, while the turning,
it's full steam ahead, as always. We don't really stop.
By the time something's approved, it's already like outdated at that point.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of partners too, and to touch up on Colin's point with working with people and businesses, Kyle Sherman, welcome on board to the advisory board. Do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I've known Kyle for several years now. We're always kind of passing around ideas and what to do, and kind of how we can help their business, because once again, they're in a business that has issues with banking, and in a lot of places, they have a real business problem. They have to deal with cash all the time. Cash is, quite frankly, not something people want to deal with. It's very unwieldy. Electronic money is way easier. So, if we can get to a point where we work with them and get something working with Nano, that's exactly what we're going to be trying to do.
Exactly. I mean, Kyle joining our advisory board, and for anyone that hasn't kind of seen the news, Kyle is CEO and founder of FlowHub, which is the largest software accountancy and software firm behind all the dispensaries in the US. So cleverly, they don't actually ever touch the end product. But so the ethos behind FlowHub and the ethos behind Nano are very, very similar in that we're both in very high risk sectors, and we're both really trying to change the state of play, and really trying to change, make a tangible difference in the world, whether it is due to accessibility and freedom, in that sense. Carl has always been, incredibly kind of close with us, and has been helpful across the last few years.
Absolutely.
And we're really excited to kind of move forward and share more details as that relationship comes to fruition, let's say. But what we have done with Carl and with FlowHub is that Nano is really providing, and as we said earlier, they have a serious issue in that sector. And what Nano and what we've created is something that is revolutionary and is not possible in any really other way, as a use case, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I remember Kyle I'm not sure if he's been around in the Discord, and everybody welcomed him with open arms, and everybody was so excited to hear about it. And obviously all the memes came about and all of that, but really exciting news. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But back on the currency change, I remember when I was just browsing around Reddit, I remember the username YapRay, which is you, George. You said that the currency change is not for crypto people in specific. Do you mind touching up on that and kind of elaborating?
Absolutely. So, I mean, there is such a dichotomy, I think, between the people that are in the crypto space, and obviously there's a lot of variance therein in this space, whether it's down to the tech or whether it's down to changing the world or the potential, or it's down to trading and, quick gains and pump and dumps and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The reason why we've created the currency symbol is to place Nano in the real world. And that really is it. So, we've always been quite clear. In our view, Nano has a far greater potential than just being an investment vehicle. I'm not saying that investment doesn't matter. Just for us and our goals, it's really important to us that it's seen as a currency and not just as another cryptocurrency, basically. And so to solidify that, this was really the first move to have a currency symbol, and to start solidifying that understanding of Nano being different from the rest of the space. And so it is for crypto people, of course, but I think the understanding of real world assets is slightly lacking in the crypto space. And there's a lot of confusion around actually what's the ticker for? And just because we've changed our ticker, people are assuming that the name is now XNO. And it's like, no, Nano is Nano. And a ticker is normally just used in FX markets. You'd never see it really elsewhere. You don't go, I'm going to get my USD at my pocket or my JPY. You just don't say that. And
it's like no one says XBT when it comes to Bitcoin.
Exactly. But even just in fiat currencies, you don't go, I'm going to get, oh, where's my EUR?
But it is important to standardize these things, because otherwise the question remains out there. It's just like, what do we use as a symbol? What do we write down? I mean, even when we were discussing the symbol, we kind of came to the conclusion that you almost don't need a symbol unless you're physically writing it down. Because if you're typing something, you can really just type the name or the symbol if you want to. You don't actually technically need this special symbol for it. Really, it's a shorthand for writing down. Obviously, it's digitized too now and everything,
and again, it kind of really does come back to a lot of our focus was on, in the designing of it, was to make sure that it is easily drawable and writable, especially in countries and in places that have very low literacy rates. That's really where Nano is meant to be. It's not for us all sitting, online and in Discord and messing around. It really is for people who need it, and they need to have these tools at hand to be able to identify and move forward and use Nano as it's designed to be. I hope that kind of answers your question.
No, yeah, definitely. In terms of it, like with being easy to use and write on like your day-to-day, like the S with the dollar is so easy, just like put an S and then a line. And with the yen and like all the other currencies too, what are, I guess, like this is more like a personal question for both of you guys. Like I know there's been a ton of research that's been put into this currency symbol too. What do you guys consider difficult like currency symbol to like write?
So I think it's more actually around the variance. And I can't tell you how many times we sat and made the team get a sheet of paper and write out the currency symbol consistently, as you would do the dollar and pound, and you'll see how your handwriting changes and how the shapes change. And it was all about finding something that had the least variance, depending, no matter what handwriting and what language or where you came from. And if your baseline language is, script, and you are using that, had to cross all those chasms really of culture and of being able to understand this as a global identifier. And so having an X, it's the variance of getting that, overly thin and overly wide isn't too much. And then having the double lines, now we understand that, some people will do them as a perfect equal sign across the front, in the center of the X. Now, we understand that the current symbol will have variance, just like the pound, the dollar, double stroke, single stroke, but what we needed to do was put out the strongest possible baseline for that to then evolve over time. And really it is a time factored thing. It's not, and when I say it's not for the crypto communities, what I'm trying to say is that, obviously it's of course up for discussion, up for evolving, but it will naturally evolve in the real world rather than in Reddit and discussions in Reddit. So that's really kind of where it's.
Yeah, and there's precedent for this. All of the currency symbols usually have multiple variations. I mean, even if you look at different fonts, people pick specific ways to write them within a font set. So, I mean, there's always going to be some variation, and it'll be interesting to see like as it goes on. But I think this is a good starting point for
exactly.
it.
And I can't tell you how much research I've done into the fonts of every platform possible and how the variance changes. And there has to be a starting point, basically. We had multiple different symbols internally, actually, for a while, right at the beginning in the first of 2018. And we weren't content with releasing it. It didn't feel right. And finally, this really felt like Nano. This really felt like the right move. And we finally released it. But yeah, we've been sat on this for a very long time.
And finding it for a long time.
Yes, exactly. I think that's the right way to say it.
And contrary to like popular like belief in like all the forums, I guess, like it's not a Rayblox to Nano change. It's definitely not, right?
It's just a new phase. It's the new phase of Nano in the real world. And that really is now our focus. It is the real world. So
basically, it's just all currencies are identified by these primary three factors: the name, the ticker symbol, and then the actual written symbol.
Yeah.
So now we have all of those. And
we want to set ourselves apart from the rest of crypto, which we kind of have done. Ethereum's not a currency. It doesn't need a currency symbol that aligns with fiat. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a really well put point, I guess. In terms of real world, though, what do you guys consider at the foundation commercial grade? Because I know you guys have been holding back in terms of like real world use cases and I guess like marketing. I know there was like the taco truck pictures and all this. Like, so people are speculating, trying to understand like, hey, like, I personally, for me, I can definitely envision a world where like we can just go up to a taco truck. I don't even need to bring my wallet to have my phone, which is basically like a part of my cell phone, my everyday now, and just like spend my Nano by scanning a QR code. But what's like real world adoption to both of you?
I mean, so it's so multifaceted, but real world adoption is exactly that. This video that we are creating is 3 use cases in the real world, and it really is trying to firstly show that the tools are here right now to be able to accept Nano as payments for small merchants. Obviously, there's a lot of work to be done. They're not perfect, but my goodness, it's a great start. And then the next is, donation and then remittance. And that's really exciting. And what we are trying to do with that video, first off, is something that I don't think anyone else in our space can do, which is show Nano working in the real world. And that's why I'm so excited about it. Number one, commercial grade, and to come back to your initial question, commercial grade is a term that we have started using for multiple reasons. But the main reason is that I think a lot of the crypto space, and this also sets us apart, currency is really boring. And there's a limited amount of features that a currency needs.
It touches everything, but the feature set is actually pretty small. So, I mean, what we've been trying to say with commercial grade, what we're trying to communicate is that there is a spectrum of like technical completeness that we're trying to get to, because, we do work with all these services. We know, what takes time for them to connect to when they're starting the integration. We know what kind of issues they run into. Everything has issues, but what we want to do is smooth all of those away and make it as easy as possible. Make things simple for them to use, make things reliable, make things faster, obviously, but there is like a technical like workload that we're whittling down. It's going very, very well. And when we say commercial grade, what we're trying to communicate is software is an evolution. We're getting there, and it just takes time to do it. And different companies will accept different amounts of risks. Like you can't stick Nano right now into like the middle of what's an enormous Amazon. Middle of Amazon or the middle of E-Trade or something where there's hard deadlines and they will not accept issues whatsoever. However, as we're on this path, there are people that will accept it, people that will take more risk, or people that want to work on something that is new and exciting and innovating and will work out.
I think an important point also is that commercial grade, because it's been matched through my words, matched with this point of us, dissolving the foundation and then reopen the foundation, and that's quite a finite move. Now, commercial grade isn't a finite stop.
Right.
And they've both been slightly merged together as one. And I think that's quite an important distinction to make. There, as I said, there's a limited amount of features. Then it will be final tweaks and efficiency. But by that point, the companies that we're working with, Flowhub, the FX side, and various others, will have started to form this backbone of the new foundation. And that really is what we've been working on right now. And that's why Kyle has joined the foundation, is that these are the pillars to help us in this next transition, because their business understands Nano. They personally have a passion for Nano, and also are, very helpful in advice and share the same ethos as us. So to build those pillars with companies such as Capture and various other bits is something that we're really looking forward to. And those pillars will be kind of the Linux style foundation, where we have more of a democratic kind of understanding and voting for the future changes of Nano, which will be minimal because there will be no large features to do. So consensus is the next big challenge, which is really exciting. And Colin has spent too long writing paper, and we've got a really exciting kind of way of looking forward to validating that, which we will be sharing as soon as it's on there. And that's going to be a real kind of game changer, I think, just for the whole space.
Yeah, there will be. And there's a lot of simplicity improvements that we're trying to work on. Obviously, we're still working on the election scheduler and all that, load balancing and throttling of the network, working very hard on those. And then there's lots of plain, boring software things that we're doing.
That's V23 in itself. It's a very boring update that's so necessary to start then moving forward into the exciting changes like consensus that we can do. So V23 is just a pure refactoring, basically, release, non-breaking.
And that it needs to be done in software. You always need to take time to refine what you have, like internally do it. You can't just only be adding new features to things, because technical debt will catch up to you if you don't pay it down consistently.
Exactly. So as I said, there's a lot of work to be done. We're content with how it's moving forward. Obviously, we're always open to more help on the node. And if anyone in the community is struggling where to get started, we are working currently on trying to make it easier and more digestible to get started. I know our documentation is getting worked on currently. It is convoluted. It's not an easy thing for everyone to be able to jump into, but we're really looking forward to making it easier and providing more tools to help make that more accessible, so we can have a little bit more help from the community as well.
Right. Yeah, I can see how there's so much exciting things that you guys want to work on, but then in terms of development and also the limited number of people that are working on it too, there can just be so much things that you can actually push out live. And I can just imagine. But in terms of version 23, what are you both excited about?
Getting it out. What about you, Colin?
It really is working on that internal refactoring and technical debt pay down. It's hard to say any specific feature, because it's not a feature edition. I'm looking forward to it, because if I were to look at the V22 code base versus what we're putting out in V23, much easier to understand. It's a lot more intuitive, and we're going to make even more of those style changes in V24.
Which already started on.
Which is already started on. I'll be pushing out some branches. Some of our guys are already working on getting the patches arranged in order to put them out there, but it's really focusing on making things modular, encapsulated. So these are all software terms: modular, encapsulated, and smaller and discrete units, because it's easier to understand, it's easier to replace.
And for me, what I'm really excited about is when I go and tell all the exchanges to update, I can then give them a little nudge on updating the ticker as well, which would be nice. So, it started to move on that front, but it's a great opportunity to go back and be like, hey guys, come on, now's the time, let's do it.
Hey, we're actually pushing stuff out. Can you guys switch it out to XNO now, please?
Exactly. No, it's always a battle, with, and especially kind of a cosmetic to an extent change. It's some of these exchanges. It's not their highest priority.
Another thing we're trying to do, probably starting with V24, is try to get on a regular release cadence. So far, we've had these very long releases.
Sometimes out of our hands.
Sometimes out of our hands. It is hard to do it, but mostly it's been feature-based, and we're going to try to do it more on timing-based and just simply include whatever's ready at the time. So that would be, more of a Agile or Scrum style fixed schedule type of thing. It's probably going to be a 3-month interval, like once a quarter or
and the
twice a
reason,
year.
the benefit for doing it this way is that we basically get to have a higher testing cadence, really, and work out firstly exactly that our tests are working as they should, and be able to test smaller increments rather than V22 was such a monumental, huge release, and obviously with the DOS attack through it, and it was, you know, to be able to fully test it and have the absolute utmost confidence it takes a long time. And so to have a quicker, smaller release cadence allows us firstly to remain more agile, continue to learn from the testing that goes on and from our wonderful beta testers, and be able to continuously improve, but on a quicker and more efficient basis moving forward.
So essentially basically cleaning up all the back end stuff, the boring stuff that no one really sees, including me. So
that's exactly
we're also doing things internally so we can notice if there's any performance regressions. So we're going to be running tests. We're going to have a continuous testing suite. We're going to have performance monitoring using some fixed parameters that are very consistent. So the beta testing is good for some specific issues, but what we need is a consistent baseline so we can tell, oh, on this day or this commit, you know, there was an issue, or this commit improved it, and we can prove that. So we need the tooling in order to do that. It's not a lot, but it just does need to be there.
And that's
a while ago, actually, Colin, I saw that you posted on like the Nano forum, like in itself, like forum.nano.org. And you seem to posted a draft there about the consensus mechanism. It seems very important, and I think it was a draft. And do you mind explaining that? I mean, I'm sure as much as I don't understand it, do you mind kind of like putting it into layman terms, I guess?
Yeah, exactly. So what that changes, and it's actually not a significant deviation from where we are right now, but it gets us to a point where everything is mathematically provable, and it's mostly around arranging things in a different way. And also there are a couple tweaks that get it to that point where, you know, everything is mathematically provable, you know, to the nth degree. So what people don't know about, you know, computers and like these type of consensus algorithms, which are very hard to understand. I've had a very hard time finding people, you know, to collaborate with on this.
I can't tell you how many professors and you know who we have approached who specialize in distributed consensus, which there are very few and far between. And it has slightly gone over their heads. Not even gone over their heads. I just don't think that they understand the gravity actually of what has been created.
And also, our space is very what is it?
Linear.
Fragmented.
Yeah.
Well, it's very fragmented. So there's tons and tons of projects, and everyone's, you know, throwing them a white paper about something or another, and most of them don't have like an academic improvement. So I think we kind of get caught up in the wash on that, but we are trying to get, you know, more people involved in it.
And we've got a pathway forward with validation, which is really exciting. And so that's what we are going to be pushing forward now. And I know Colin's going to be spending some time, because it is in draft form, actually, just, you know, writing and actually confirming all of that. But the initial tests have been going actually really well, and surprisingly so. So that's a really exciting start. And kind of in my mind, how I've been kind of explaining it in layman's terms, it really is kind of if we pull this off, it really is kind of crypto 3.0. Really, it really is the next phase of consensus. And
it has a lot of applications outside of,
and that's the beauty of it. So for instance, my old mentor, who I've had as a mentor for 12 years now, since I was like 19, he used to work at InmaStaff, and obviously that's where I used to work as well, and he now heads up OneWeb. And to be able to kind of share a distributed consensus algorithm that, for instance, OneWeb or SpaceX can use for, you know, heat redundancy or rockets or anything like that,
control
you know,
systems, database replication.
It's it will definitely kind of cement, and as it should cement, Colin in the academic world, far greater than what Nano's kind of use case of this consensus is.
So do you reckon that in terms of finding, I guess like in a micro scale, in terms of like the community, do you think you guys can find the help that you need in terms of community developers for the development of Nano, in terms of like, you know?
I think it's something.
I mean, I think we can. I mean, I think it's important that not So all the code is out there on GitHub. You know, I've worked on open source projects before, and they're out there. They have some guidelines. You know, we have some coding guidelines, but it really is just a matter of people kind of going into it and seeing, oh, I can make a little improvement here. I can make a little improvement here. And then over time, then you can make like bigger and bigger improvements. So that's what we always try to encourage, because we want people to help with a lot of the, you know, little things that we have.
Yeah, I think there's definitely kind of a misunderstanding, or I think it's this need for permission sometimes. And we can definitely get better at communicating our need for more help on the community side. I mean, we've got a community dev channel in our Slack now, and we've got some devs in there. But for instance, V23 is a boring release, for instance. For people to go out of their way and spend time on really dog work refactoring, you know, is something that isn't exciting. People naturally want to work on the exciting features, and we definitely are aware of, you know, peaks and troughs of interest when it comes to helping on the Node software. If it's something like we're putting in this feature, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, we'll all jump in. 323 has been, you know, kind of a bit quiet on that front. But again, you know, the Nano is open source, and Nano Foundation, I think we've made it clear, and we could have possibly started off much clearer in that absolutely we want more help. I do think there is potentially a misunderstanding of the actual level that is needed to really participate. C++ just in itself is a completely very difficult language. It's obviously not the most, you know, common as well. There's a lot of opinions flying around, especially, you know, on the forums, and there needs to be, I think, some leadership and cohesion in that, and that's what, you know, the dev team and Nano try to do. But, you know, we do understand it is bloody difficult. It's tiresome and incredibly hard, and, you know, we don't have the funds to pay everyone, you know, to help. It has to be through a passion and a want to actually participate in this. But everything is out there. The tools are there for people to access. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So for anything community driven, I guess, for anyone that's not code savvy, I would say, right? Is there any kind of way that anyone can help in terms of mass production? Like, I know you guys have that program. Sorry?
Exactly.
You could find a friend that's code savvy. I mean, that word of mouth and getting people in.
It's very helpful.
If you don't know it yourself, you know, find someone that does.
But no, for the community who aren't, you know, coders such as me, there is a plethora of ways to get involved in Nano and participate in Nano and the community and the movement that's been created. I mean, it's people that you can follow online, such as yourself, Jason, you know, creating videos and creating content, even showing how you can buy a Nano mug online is such an important and useful tool to be shared around and to highlight to others that they could do such a thing too. Also, we know we've got a community program where we've got ambassadors, community managers, mods, and we're still getting loads of applications and setting up new groups everywhere, which is really exciting. We've now got a new press kit on our website and events pack. Both of those things we're going to continue to build out and evolve, and we're really looking forward to the community having much more of a say in what should be an event pack. What would you guys like to do, and how can we help you achieve that? But, you know, it's partaking in discussions on Reddit. It's sharing news on Twitter, or following, you know, the example of Mira on Twitter or Sonatus on Reddit. And you know, there's so many things you can do, but I think the most simple thing is talk about Nano, show Nano.
You know, one thing that was brought up by people is a lack of technical walkthroughs, like setting up a node. How does the node work? Like maybe videos, that type of thing is really, really helpful. Sure, we have the documentation, but sometimes another perspective or another way somebody else describing it, that's helpful too. And when people search for Nano, like how do I do X, Y, or Z? And
that's exactly why, you know, we've started building the hub, is to have this centralized place which houses all of these things, whether it's developer tools, whether it's all the games that are inspiring to go and make your own game. You know, these have been made. How awesome it is possible. You can go and do it yourself. Or submit a merchant. You know, if you have a local coffee shop, go and speak to them and go and say, hey, do you know what? You could save money by accepting Nano, or you could get a whole new audience because if you have a spot on We Nano Business, it tweets this out and people can tip here. There are so many things that can be done. And I think sometimes people are just looking for permission to do so. This is it, go and do it. Nano is all of ours, and it is only up to all of us whether it succeeds or not. And that is as simple as that. That anyone can do what NF does, that it is there for everyone. And that is a really important point, I think, to make. Obviously, we've been around and we've had the trials and tribulations over the last 4 years. But Nano, the whole point of what we've created is that it's for everyone. It's for you guys. So use it. Yeah. That's how you can help, basically.
I mean, like, contrary to popular belief, anyone can technically market Nano in terms of showing it, the adoption, showing a friend, talking about it, right?
Definitely. And there's so many reasons, and we've said this before, why we don't market. It's not purely just resources. What is marketing in the crypto world, and what is marketing in the real world? We care about the real world, and we will market in the real world when we are ready. We're not going to market in the crypto hype bubbles, that we're looking for longevity, and that really is it. And having the most users is much more important to us than our rank and then our price. Of course they matter, and of course it hurts us to see us not where we think we should be. That definitely hurts us. But what keeps us going is that Nano has a wider potential than all of this, and that really is the crux of it, I think.
And I feel like with the hub too, everybody has this same access to the toolbox that you guys have provided, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh. And then
you just
there you go.
Yeah,
am I still freezing? I'm still good.
No,
Perfect. Okay, so back to the whole commercial grade and adoption. I want to talk about global coverage in terms of people with no access to internet. People basically not being able to access Nano if you don't have internet access, and they don't have the opportunity to experience fast and fearless transactions, right? So how do you guys plan on, I guess, bridging that gap? Or
I think it's an interesting kind of topic. I think there's two parts of it, really. Is that firstly, Nano, you need internet access to be able to enjoy Nano. However, luckily, and what's really exciting and also adheres to our ethos, is that there's many companies that are looking to create mesh Wi-Fi networks, satellite networks, creating global Wi-Fi coverage. That is incredibly important, and that is a mission in itself, a passion mission in itself, something that we share, but that is not our goal. Our goal is for Nano to have global coverage. So to work alongside the companies that are creating these satellite mesh networks is really exciting and really important, because then we also get to show them that Nano should be the currency to be used to pay for these Wi-Fi mesh networks. And so it's a multi-pronged kind of effect, but of course, one needs the other. And so if we can provide a solution for these companies to accept payments, which is what's needed going to happen, then we've kind of hit two birds with one stone.
Yeah, absolutely. And also there are a lot of people that will still be helped with it. People that have Wi-Fi access, internet access, but don't have access to banks. That number is not trivial.
Exactly.
So even though it doesn't, fix every situation, it fixes far more than we have right now, which is, it's very good. It's good enough, I think.
Well, can you imagine what would happen if the 5 billion people that we mentioned earlier that don't have an address, therefore can't access the banking system? Can you imagine the innovation that would happen if 5 billion people got to participate in the economy for the first time, set up their businesses? Can you imagine what technologies would come out? How exciting would that be to have literally half the world who have been restricted participate for the first time? That's Nano's goal. The Wi-Fi side and that coverage we can facilitate and help, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Definitely the long-term game that you guys are playing rather than the short-term things that are happening in the market at the moment, right? Well, in terms of oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just about to say, keeping steady through a crazy market and keeping our focus is something that we're incredibly proud of, I think, with all the, things that go on around us and the crazy noise that exists. But the simple fact is it's very easy to give everything towards Nano because it's so tangibly close to actually being what it's designed to be. That's, I think, what keeps us going massively.
Absolutely.
Well, in terms of the future, I guess, like, what does 2022 have in, I guess, like, store for Nano and the foundation, both of you, everything?
I think it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways it's going to be more of the same things, but now that we've completed, a lot of these base the things, the symbol, the website, the hub or whatever, it'll make next year easier for us to focus on these other things, which is connecting it with businesses and working with people that want to integrate it into their business. Really, in the end, we'll be helping the beginning, but I really would like to see, my vision would be to see businesses doing this on their own. Like, there's enough information out there. It's easy enough for them to do such that they never even need to talk with us. They can just go to the software, stick it into their company, and then they know how to use it. So there's a lot of procedures around that, a lot of business restrictions.
I think if that would happen in 2022, I would be blown away, to be honest. But all I think what we can all really say is that this is now Nano full steam ahead, in the most simple terms. Consensus is our biggest thing. Once that's changed and updated, my goodness, then it is like, engines on. But for 2022 for us, we have the materials that we have been working on to set us up in the way that we've been trying to do, which is in the real world. Having quite a few amazing opportunities that to go and speak with governments is really exciting. And we look forward to sharing more on that front. And then obviously, we've got more use cases and some more, details around current events that I think will make a lot of sense to everyone. Obviously, we are so restricted in what we can say, which is a shame, but we're really looking forward to 2022. I think it's, I said that this year was going to be our year. It's been our year in multiple different ways, and we've definitely learnt a huge amount, but I think we have now matured as a company, as a community, and as a protocol to all be actually probably the most aligned we ever have been in what needs to happen to reach Nano's goal. And I think we're going to really start seeing that in a tangible way starting next year.
So exciting, guys. So exciting. Well, I think that's it. That's all I have for you guys. Cool. Do you guys have any other notes that you guys want to
share? I mean, it's looking forward to 2022. Looking forward to getting V23 out. So excited just around seeing the community excitement and engagement and the amount of videos you put out, and seeing other people start to do the same. I remember when I messaged you saying I've just watched the latest video, and you're like, I can't believe you watched it. We watch everything in the community. Anything that's put out, it's so exciting for us and inspiring for us that's the support that we need to kind of keep going, is seeing that actually people see what we see, and are putting their time and effort into trying to help. That is so exciting. Agreed, 100%. So keep it up the good work, basically. And thank you very much for having us.